Okay, today's topic will be ascendants, the squares, and opposing the planets. So, what I want you to do, take notes because I'm going through all the planets, all the planets. So this ascendants, square, and opposing whatever planet that you have. I'm going through it. This is what we're talking about. You already know that squares deal with hard times, the struggles, the pain you go through. The opposition deals with the enemy. Two planets going to war with each other. This is energy now. Energies going to war with each other, but also energies that's struggling with each other, having a hard time. And so, okay, your sentence is how you approach life. It's your personality and your cosmic body, right? It's the body that makes all the houses. Just imagine that your sentence is a body that creates all, that got all the houses, all the energy that's in it. So it's the lead force. It's with the head. So it's the mind and the body. Because your sun sign is the spirit, which is your motivation, your willpower, and your moon sign is your emotions. So when we talking about the ascendants right here, okay, when you got ascendants that square or opposing the sun, this means that with squares, you have a hard time being in the spotlight. You have a hard time being fashionable. You be a struggle being a leader. You might be a follower. Or you might want to be a leader. You might fight so hard to go overboard until become very negative. But also this energy after you experience the hard time of being in the spotlight and you need that push. So once you get yourself in balance with the squares, that means you have a great experience when dealing with the spotlight and not being too controlling or too dominant because this is your ascendant square to your sun. Now, when your ascendant's opposing your sun, this is your ascendant, it's an enemy to your ascendant, so they batter and they're going back and forth. So you might don't care nothing about shining or the spotlight. You might not care nothing about the sun personality being that. But you know the energy is there, or you might pose people who carry the sun energy. You might dislike people who want to shine, people who having fun. You might oppose having fun. You might oppose because you might be more serious nature because of this placement. So same thing with squares of opposition. These like your downside of life that if you balance it out, you can really do something with it because this give you great experience. Because you got the ability because it's your sun to shine, to be creative, to be productive, to whatever you think to manifest. But since you got squares, so you will struggle with this. You will struggle with this since you got oppositions here. You'll be battling it just like your enemy. The sun is like your enemy shining and being in the spotlight. You know what I mean? So right here, uh, it's part of life where you will have a hard time because this is squares of oppositions. This the hard time, the struggles you will have in life. But as long as you balance it out and get it right, you be the type who will shine. You be the type that will be that leader who here to inspire and motivate others, and also who be into beauty, the arts, and everything else. Or you can go overboard with it, because that's what the squares of opposition could do. It can make you go overboard with it. You could like beauty so much and have fun so much till you forget to be serious. See what I'm saying? Or you could be a follower and stuff like that there, but you're not here to do that. You see? So this is what squares and oppositions do. So you gotta understand the sun is magical. We talk magical people, people who can create, be so creative, everything they do, they creative. It could be a garden, anything. The sun want to create. They can create anything. You know what I mean? And also create their life. They correct their reality. They're not here to follow somebody else's path. But since you got squares of opposition here, they might follow somebody else's path or oppose authority figures here. Because you got ascendants that square opposing the sun. So they might fight authority figures and be aggressive and want to fight those who are in power, who hate people who being a boss, who hate people who aggressive. So they might be the one who fight against this stuff type stuff. Or they might be afraid of it, either or. So you see, so this how it play out. But this is more like a sunny personality here, so they can be very happy. But at the same time, since they struggle with the happiness, you can see them be depressed, down and out, and stuff like that there because they have a hard time with it. So they're here to follow their heart. That's their heart intuition. Once they follow their heart, that's how they win. They have to follow their heart. So they have to, their heart will lead them to the right path because sometimes they can struggle with this. They can struggle with following their intuition. So with this placement here, I just explained the square opposing the sun with the sentence, the square, and opposition to the sun. Now, when you got square opposing, you talk about the moon, your sentence is square and opposing the moon. So it's opposing your emotions. So this deals with your emotions, your two-fifths of your natural instinct. And so when you got the sentence opposing that, this is what you have trouble with. You be too emotional, too sensitive. Uh, you have emotional breakdowns out of nowhere. Don't know why you're crying, picking up on all type of energy right here. Because the squares and opposition right here. Just like the downside of your personality until you break it up, because squares and opposition also you'll scrim because it'll make you strong than any other placement. Squares and oppositions. So once you balance it out, so it's also your scrim. So right here they will have a hard time with their emotions, picking up on people's energy, and don't know why they crying. They think it's them, but they have a hard time with their emotion. But it's somebody else that it's somebody else's pain, it's somebody else's emotions that they're going through. So right here, and they will have a hard time like staying home or staying in the house, or they have a hard time. And they can even fight against their family, fight against their mother, fight against those they love, because this what this place would deal with. We got ascendant squares and opposing the moon. But also, they can have a hard time dealing with spirituality, where they can go crazy, they can hear things, have mental problems, emotional problems, because they can't control their emotions. But once they control their emotions and balance themselves out, this is how they win right here. And they learn how to use their intuition, because they definitely can pick up on people's emotions, and they can be the most emotional intelligent people on the planet, and also clairsentient. Once they, so a lot of times people will struggle with this. Sometimes people never come out of squares of opposition. Sometimes when people do, people be more successful. A lot of successful people have a lot of squares of oppositions in their charts. It's because they got over the negative side or the downside side of that and learn how to discipline themselves. Because squares also can give you discipline. Opposition, you got to balance it out, where you won't be fighting and playing tug of war. Because this is like your enemy. Stop being an op and cause a peace treaty. Your sentence and your emotions need to cause a peace treaty. What you trying to do? See what I'm saying? So this is when you got squares and oppositions to, you got ascendant squares opposition to your moon. You know what I mean? So now when you got ascendant squares oppositions to Mercury, this is the way you think. So you might have trouble speaking. You might be afraid to express yourself. You might be afraid. You might have problems with your brothers and sisters and stuff like that there. Okay, because this place right here is people who live a fast pace. You might don't want to slow down. You might be on the downside of life because you got your ascendant squares and opposing Mercury. So right here, you might have a problem thinking, something always blocking your thoughts, where you appear to be like you're slow, but you're not slow. You see what I'm saying? Or you might have a problem with people who think they're smarter than you. You see what I'm saying? They might think they're smarter than you and stuff like that there. And so you having a challenge with this situation. Or you might oppose people who think they're smarter than you and try to break them down all the time, because this is the op. So this is what you oppose. This is what you against. Also, those who are always complaining about the way you speak and stuff like that. So right here, this placement could be very strong right here, because these people could be your most intellectual knowledge seekers there is, because they deal with this information. They love information. They don't care who they hear it from. But also they can turn this information to negativity, because they got squares and opposition here. They can use it to spread rumors and propaganda right here. So, but the thing is right here, they appear to be slow of learning until they get themselves right, balance themselves out, then they will win right here, because they have experience in this field, so they can make you great teachers and your instructors, and they love to travel. So these people here might don't like to travel like that, or when they travel, it might be something wild that they be into, stuff like that. So this what this deals with: fast paced moving life. And so right here, they may have trouble with the fast paced moving life right here. So after they accomplish this, they will win. So now, when you got squares, when you got ascendants and squares and opposing Venus, because Venus is how you love. And so the way you come off is whatever your sentence is. So when it's opposed in the square that you have a hard time coming off as a loving person. You have a hard time when people always talk about love. You have a hard time seeing the beauty people personality. You can struggle with yourself. You can have low self-esteem. You don't feel the value and you don't feel your worth because of this right here. You know what I'm saying? So you might even, go against the grain, and that could turn to hate. It could turn to you, you know what I mean? Also, it could turn to you having low self-esteem, period. So right here, when you got Ascendant square opposing Venus, it's all about love. It's all about your heart. You have to go in your heart. You have to, you have to be an example of love so you can be the best lover on the planet and be very empathetic towards others. But since it got squares of opposition, you might have a hard time being, empathetic to people. So you're here to sympathize with people. You're here to be an example of love. You're here to first love yourself. So this is what you're here to do. So you might don't like to be around people who think they're more beautiful than you, people who got values, people who you feel self-worth. You might downplay them, or also could go the other way too, where people could downplay you because of your values. People could look down on you, and this would cause you to have low self-esteem because how people talk trash about you and downplay you. So it could go that way too. So this is when you got squares of opposition, when your ascendant a square and opposing the, Venus. So okay, now I have to go back to the ascendant square and opposing the sun, which means I forgot to say this is how these people will come off. They'll come off like kind of mean, like they'll come off like not very playful and very serious when people first see them. And they have to go to the moon where people come off very emotional, go through mood swings. That's how people first see them. And they can be very expressive, very emotional. Okay, and I forgot to go to ascendant square and opposing Mercury, how people will come off. They will come off always want to challenge you, argumentative, debatable, but also they can be the type that don't want to talk. See what I'm saying? So, okay, I already did the Ascendant square and opposing Venus. The way these people come off, they come off just, they come off this very observative, but not really sure of themselves. So right here, so they don't want to make the first approach, especially when they deal with love. So they can be the type that can go against beauty or go against all that, or also they can come off too stylish and too fly and all that there because people can hate them and this can bring their self-worth down. So this is how they come off: shining, beautiful, artistic, stuff like that. So okay, now when you got ascendant square and opposing Mars, these people have trouble aggressively. They come off very snappish. They come off like a ticking time bomb, but also because they will have trouble with this right here, this Mars energy, for putting it into the positive light. Or these people could be against people who are aggressive and always fighting and always, getting into some drama. They might love drama because we got your ascendant square and opposing Mars. So they have trouble with this aspect right here until they balance themselves out. Especially with squares, they will have a hard time until they learn they can be the best teacher and teach people the true meaning of how to use their energy, how to use it in the creative way, how to use their energy into take initiative way, and show people how to become warriors and strong in every situation when they overcome obstacles. Because Mars give you the ability to overcome all obstacles and be that warrior. It can be emotional, mentally, physically. It can be all over. So with this aspect right here, this is very powerful. You got ascendants square and opposing Mars. So these people got a strong personality. And they got a lot of energy for days right here. So they can use their energy to fight and do all this destructive stuff. But they also can use their energy to also to help you. And then these people's sexuality can be very high here because this is what they deal with. They can have sex with anyone, experience all type of stuff, and catch all type of diseases. Also, they can get into a lot of fights and can have a lot of cuts on them. So how people will see them, they see them as super aggressive. They see them as super aggressive, a lot of energy, energetic. They can want to have fun all the time. You know what I mean? And make it all about them. So with this placement here, they might they might want to be on the other side where they need people to make them strong. They feel they need people to influence them, need people to help them to become stronger than what they is. And so when you have, okay, now we're going to ascendants, the square and opposing Jupiter. When your ascendants is square and opposing Jupiter, this right here gonna pose you expanding. This is gonna pose you being spiritual. And you have a hard time with this also. You have a hard time with squares. You have a hard time expanding yourself. You have a hard time expressing yourself. You have a hard time traveling. You have a hard time thinking big. And you think you pick up all the small details instead of thinking big. Because you have a hard time doing that. Because that's what this deals with. When you got ascendants, squares, or opposing Jupiter right here. So you're here to be wise. You're here to be the one with that wisdom, the one who be that spiritual teacher, that spiritual guru. But you can have a hard time with that. You might become religion. You might feel you need a book or something like that to put you in order right here. So this is where you got ascendant square to you got ascendant squares opposing Jupiter, because Jupiter deal with the big personality, always expanding, always growing, always want to learn. You might have a hard time doing that. And opposing people who do that. Or people might oppose you because you smart, you wise, and they might call you a know-it-all. And this right here can make you very aggressive, make you want to fight and do it on a big level when you get into something. Very dramatic right here. Because this is when you got squares opposition to Jupiter, your ascendants. So the way you appear, you appear to be very aggressive, very wild-like, very free spirit, you know. So now, when you got ascendants that square and opposing Saturn, you will come off as a person. So this will make you have more hard time because squares and Saturn sort of like a little bit. So you can have more hard time, especially with organizing yourself and structuring yourself. You know what I mean? You have a hard time of building the foundation. You have a hard time of trying to achieve something. It's always something in your way. Every time you want to achieve something, it's always something there that's blocking you, that's in your way. So the way you will come off, you will come off kind of like you can be very careful, of course, because you can be very shy, and don't want to make a move because this is going to put you in this space and this time. But when you do come off, you can be all about money all the time, all about how to achieve money or how to prosper or you want this, you want to have that. Or you're going to be about want to achieve something, but you're going to feel like something is always in your way or somebody always trying to hold you down and things like that there. So when you got ascendant square or opposed in this aspects, you got to understand that these people is problem solvers. They good with their hands and they deal with self-mastery. So you can have a hard time mastering whatever that you into. Because one, you might start on it and just stop. Because the energies opposing, they battering and fighting each other back and forth right here. So this is where you got Saturn here. But so these people be some of the best like mechanics, good with their hands, best healers, best problem solvers, good at math, even your scientists. When they get over all this, when they balance themselves out and get themselves right here. So now, also, they can have a hard time working, hard time finding a job, hard time that deal with this aspect right here, hard time with their family, hard time having a structure and keeping things neat and keeping things in order. So now, but also they can be very bossy and very dominant too. Very bossy, very dominant, want to control something and be obsessed about things because that's what Saturn can do. Now, when you got ascendant squares, we got ascendant squares and opposing Uranus, This is opposing the higher mind. So these people gonna think on a practical level, on the earthly level plane, instead of being in the higher mind, coming up with innovative things or thinking outside of the box. They're gonna be more on a lower level because you got squares of oppositions right here. When you got your sentence opposing your higher mind. So these people here might look like a box, look like they square like. What I mean, you know how Uranus look odd and stuff like that there. But these people here, when they got a square opposing their ascendants, that mean that they might look like somebody regular, you know what I mean, or they might look like somebody mean, or something like that there. So, but just deal with the higher mind. So they're here to think outside of the body, here to be the humanitarian. They might be negative against the humanitarian nature. It might don't care about being a humanitarian. Might don't be the best friend that you can have, or they can struggle with that. They might want to be, but they might struggle with that. Some of them is your best friend. People might take advantage of them until they don't want to be friends with people no more. They might separate themselves from people. See what I'm saying? Because of what they experience, having a hard time, hard placement with this. But also, people might call them a know-it-all, and they might be separated from people because of that. Because this is hard time energy and opposing energy right here. When you got ascendants and squares opposing Uranus right here, the higher mind, your unique self. So these people here might want to see people be the norm. Or they might hate people who act normal. It's either or. So right here. So they love to see people be different, but when you got your ascendant square and opposing Uranus, the higher mind, these people they would struggle with this. They would struggle with change. They would struggle with being shocked. So this might even cause them to go through death experiences. You know what I'm saying? Feeling like they're going through death experiences because deal with transformation. So they might commit suicide because this will make them go crazy mentally. You see, right here, so they could really go through some stuff with this placement here. Now, when they master this placement, they definitely could be the best scientists, the best intuitive geniuses. Like I say, with squares of opposition, it's not a guarantee that people will master these placements. That's why squares are oppositions. But when they do, they will be the best. It don't matter if it's squares or opposition. Once they balance this energy out and accept their with opposition, opposing energy, once they accept their enemy, and they don't become an enemy no more, have a peace treaty and make it one, that's when they win. With the squares, they'll go through a hard time. Once they master this placement, that's how they win. Because experience is the best teacher. They can teach people about what they went through. And they teach people about psychology. They can teach people about socialization and connecting with people. They can teach people about being friends and stuff like that there. And they can be into scientific work, into astrology, numerology, and all that there. And they could also be their unique self and know how to be their unique self because they master this placement. Now, when you got ascendants, the squares, and opposing Neptune, I know y'all waiting for this here. Opposing what? Spirituality. So the way you gonna come off, you ain't gonna even come off like you spiritual. People might don't even see you as spiritual. You might be like a little demon around here, or you might be too spiritual or too holier than thou. Holier than thou. You might be too spiritual. But people don't want to mess with you right here because this placement right here, they will struggle with spirituality. They will struggle with this psychic mind. They will struggle with anything that's spiritual or creative right here. And they might oppose. They may oppose being spiritual. Might be real practical instead of being spiritual and leave the spirituality out. Or they can go through it and go insane by being so spiritual and going through mood swings and catching vibes and want to escape and be on drugs, alcohol. Right here, this is one of the places where they could actually have people would see them. People might see them always on drugs or smoking a blunt or drinking a lot or escaping to another world and mess with being addicted to sex and they might be porn stars. They might because they trying to escape reality, trying to escape what they're going through, and they using the earthly plane to do that. So these people might actually do that right here. It don't matter if it's squares or opposition right here. Cause they if it's opposition, they don't care nothing about spirituality. They might curse God out or stuff like that, or curse, you know what I'm saying? Cause this is what this deals with. Or they might don't even carry out their creative talent, especially with squares, because they have a hard time with it. Or people might hate them because they got these gifts, so many talents, so many gifts that people can't measure up to them. Then you have people going to secretly admire them because they very good at it. They like magical to people. Because these people can be very magical to people. They be so skilled, so talented, until they have people coming against them, until this could bring them down. Because they want to show unconditional love with everyone. So this one you got your Ascendant square and opposing Neptune. So right here, these people here to be spiritual. They're here to carry the selenite wand right here. They're here to do their thing. Once they master this here, they're here to be the spiritual guru and teach people uh, things about spirituality, be it the social work, also use the psychic gifts. They might have all types of psychic gifts because they experience seeing things, they experience hearing things, and don't know why they hear things. And they might don't know how to work these psychic gifts because this deal with hard time. They know it's there, but they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what it means. They don't know how to handle it. The only time something becomes psychic, you will have psychic experience it, but when you become a psychic, you got to understand the energy. That's all it's about. Know how to read the energy. So they're going to have a lot of psychic experiences, but once they master this placement, that's when they can become truly that psychic. I mean, they might experience hearing things, hearing voices, might experience seeing spirits. Don't know why, and they might be in an illusional state of mind. You know what I'm saying? And don't know why. It be so much in a fantasy world and dream world, fantasize about all type of stuff. Might be negative stuff they fantasize about, or it might be porno type stuff. Might be all type of stuff they fantasize about. They might have a crush, a secret crush, and never be able to express themselves to their crush because they stay in their dream world. Because their dream world feel more realer than the earthly plane. We got Ascendant square and opposing Neptune. Now, when you got Ascendant square and opposing Pluto, I know everybody waiting for this. The reason why I keep saying that Pluto aspect, because it seems like everybody like Pluto, because Pluto is that power, that source. I don't know why. My videos do good on that Pluto aspect, but here we go. Okay, when your ascendant is opposing power, it's opposing transformation. It opposing being rebirth. That means they will have a hard time with transforming. They have a hard time with being in power. It might don't want to be in power. You might don't want to be in power, or you might come off like a little weakling, or you might come off too strong. See what I'm saying? So right here, your emotions means everything because you can have emotional. You can snap on people. Be a just like the Mars energy could be a ticking time bomb. You can hold in a lot, and then all of a sudden you explode right here because this place will deal with ascendants will have a hard time and opposing Pluto right here, opposing power, opposing being in power. Might don't want to leave a mark on in reality. So right here, these people could pick up on people energy quick, and they can see through people BS. So they can use this to manipulate people. They can use this could they understand the psyche better than anyone. They can tap deep into people's psyche, and they might use it to manipulate people to get anything they want out of people. See what I'm saying right here? Not saying that they will, but this is a possibility because that's what this placement deal with. So right here, they also can go through deaths, so many deaths in their life, so many people dying in their life. It could be in their family or somebody close to them, or they might even experience being near death, or they might even become deaf for real. So this placement deals with that right here. So this is when people first approach you. You might look dead to people, or you might look too magnetic or too sexy to people. Like that there. You turn people on so much. You know what I mean? People might be scared to approach you right here because this could be a tough place right here. Got squares of opposition right here. And so also you can be the type who go against people who in power. You don't like authoritative people. You might don't like people or who's like the OGs. You might go against them. You might go against all type of people. You know what I mean? Because this is what this deals with. This deals with the strong energy right here. So it could be that too. Also going against the police right here. Because this is what this deals with. Fight the power. You see, fight the power. This is Ascendant fighting the power, fighting Pluto. So it's fight the power. So you right here, when you got Ascendant square and opposing, your personality definitely gonna be hot, sexy, on fire. People gonna look at you magnetic. So you have many talents, many gifts, and you can be ruthless when accomplish your objective. But since Pluto right here, you might like that. You might like that energy. You might like that to go get it. You might. So right here, they could be very strong places. These are healers and true psychics right here. So these people here could be very powerful. When you got ascendants or ascendant square or opposing Pluto right here. So how these people will appear, they will appear like they your friend, and they could be thinking bad about you and all type of stuff. Or they might be afraid, paranoid all the time, always paranoid, always going through emotional up downs and letdowns and stuff right here. Or or they might be scared to transform and might be fixing in their mind, fixing their thoughts right here. So right here is for these people to embrace change, embrace the transformation, and to come into their powers with no shame and be confident in themselves right here, and they'll win. But be confident in the right way. That's if they lack a confidence. But you might be the type to be too confident, so you here to balance that out. It don't matter if it's square or opposition. You're here to balance that out, opposing energy. So you can be the best teacher when it comes to metaphysics, when it comes to astrology, numerology, when it comes to things that people don't even that people scared to get into. You could be an expert at that, because Pluto deal with expert of things that people are afraid of. You can be the sex expert. You can be into sex therapy. You can be into things that people scared to talk about, or things that people scared to get into, right here. Because these people here could be hardcore. They could be like your crash dummies who always fighting, who always want to go into people's stuff because the way people look at them, or they can feel people vibe and they just want to snap. Because this could be very terrible too. So don't get me wrong. So with this being said, they definitely would have a spiritual when dealing with the underworld, where they would experience spirit all the time. The underworld. They might want to stay in the underworld. You know what I'm saying? Read mystery novels and look at mystery movies and things like that there. So these people, that type of people, this is the energy we're dealing with right here, powerful vibration. Now, when you got squares, when you got ascendant squaring and opposing your midheavens, woo. So ascendants don't get along with the midheavens. So you can have a hard time achieving with the midheaven because your ascendants uh is square or opposing it. You see what I'm saying? So you have to balance that out. That's just basically what this energy represents. Because I don't know what your ascendant is, I don't know what your midheavens is, but all the express that you have a hard time. Your ascendants and your midheavens will have a hard time with each other. Like your ascendants opposing your midheavens. You might not be into them careers if it's opposing it. It might be hard for you to even be into that career that you're supposed to be into. The same thing with squares. You have a hard time until you master this placement with your midheavens. Now, when your ascendant is square or opposing your north node, you might have a hard time achieving your life path or your life journey or whatever your north node is. You have a hard time, so you got to bring that in balance too. That's all it means. That's why I don't go in too deep, because all it means is if you say, dog, it's hard for me to accomplish my north node, this is why. That's all it means. This is why I can't accomplish it. That's all. So that's why that's don't need too much explain. That's why I put it in this video instead of separating, because that's all it means right there. Now, when you got ascendant, square, and opposing Black Lilith right here, that can be a good thing right there, because if your ascendant is a battering your subconscious, that could be a good thing right there. Cause you don't know what your Black Lilith might be into. You know what I'm saying? Opposing it. Now, when you got your ascendant square and opposing your Chiron, that I mean, it might be hard for you to get over pain, hard for you to get over things because of this here. Whatever your Chiron is, it might be hard for you because Chiron is the wound healer, what you go through and what you're here to use to help others after you go through your spirit with the Chiron. So your Black Lilith, you here to master that, but this could be a good thing. We got ascendant square opposing it, but also could be a bad thing because you can stay in your you might don't get into your subconscious. You might don't let your subconscious flow because of that. See what I'm saying? So with that being said, I done said enough, beautiful people. I done gave it to y'all, beautiful people. The squares and oppositions. Now you can do the rest for yourself. Whatever I didn't say, you can come up with it yourself. I didn't give you an idea what squares oppositions is. So that being said,